Today's video is sponsored by the lovely people over at AOA.com. If you're looking for a couple million runes, a shiny new weapon, or some fancy equipment, AOA has got you covered. Better yet, use code EXPLOITS when you check out for 3% off your order. For everyone that hates the Rivers of Blood users in PvP and wants to beat them at their own game, this is for you. They will not see this coming at all. Alternatively, if you're just looking to rinse a boss easily and spamming Rivers of Blood is getting a bit boring for you, this is also for you. Although it works like Rivers of Blood, this new Rivers of Poison build has enough variety to keep the game fun and keep your PvP opponents guessing. And here is exactly what you need. So firstly, let's talk stats. For this build, you're going to want to focus on Arcane for that poison to pack a punch. Then Dex as your weapon scales primarily with Dex, and finally Mind. You don't have to go crazy with Mind, I personally stack it, just because I'd like to have more health flasks and not have to rely on refilling my FP every 2 seconds. Try to have a decent level of Vigor too if you're going to be going into PvP fights. It also doesn't hurt to have a few points in Endurance. Everything else stat-wise is up to you. For this build, you're going to want the Nagakiba Katana. It's the insanely long one with more range than a bow and arrow. It's actually super simple to find. It isn't hidden behind a boss fight or the far end of an endgame area. It's literally right at the beginning of the game. From the first step site of Grace, simply run over to Murkwater Cave. You'll be invaded by an NPC. If you leave it long enough, a hunter NPC called Yura will spawn in to help. After killing the invader, Yura will be standing against the wall to the north. Kill him and he'll drop the Nagakiba. You're going to need 2 of these. There are a few ways to do this. If you're in New Game Plus, it's likely that you've picked one up in your travels before, so you'll simply need to head over and grab it again. If not, we have a video on duplicating weapons and runes. I'll link that in the description. And we have a Discord filled with hundreds of Elden Ring players looking to duplicate, trade, and fight bosses together. So definitely go and get some help there. Now that you've got a pair of swords taller than you, let's talk Ash of War and affinities. So the Nagakiba actually does a good amount of bleed damage, which is a great little boost. The high arcane we talked about earlier is going to help boost that, as well as the poison you'll be adding later. For Ashes of War, put double slash on your right hand. This will imitate the exact movement that the Rivers of Blood does. For the affinity, you're going to choose poison, obviously. And on your left, this is going to be your secret weapon that catches enemies off guard. Equip the spinning slash Ash of War and choose the poison affinity again. This is great for enemies that try to close the gap and get real close. Simply one-hand your left Nagakiba and spam the spinning slash Ash of War for an easy kill. You can find the double slash Ash of War in Celia Understair. Just climb on top of the route that spans the town and run to the west. You'll see one of those bugs, just kill it, and then boom, you've got it. Then for the spinning slash Ash of War, it's sold by Knight Bernal at the War Master's Shack for 1,200 runes. You can find the shack here. That high level arcane and dex we talked about earlier is really going to come in handy for both Ashes of War. For your head, you'll want to use the Mushroom Crown. This boosts damage when poison is in the vicinity. It will boost your damage by 10%. The Mushroom Crown can be found on a corpse hanging off of a pillar ruin in the southeastern corner of Lake Rot, right here. For the chest, hands and feet, you're going to want something to give you a decent poise level without causing you to fat roll. I went with the Crucible Knight Armor, but anything will do. The reason for the high poise is due to being vulnerable when doing the spinning slash attack. However, not that many players will be able to hit you because this attack is more likely to break enemy poise anyway. All of these talismans are useful and contribute towards insane amounts of damage, so don't skip any. Firstly, we have Radagon Soreseal. This gives a +5 to the attributes Vigor, Endurance, Strength, and Dex. The trade-off here is that you take an extra 15% damage, but you're not going to get hit very much. You can get a hold of the Soreseal at Fort Faroth in Caelid right here. If you don't like the idea of 15% extra damage, I'd suggest swapping out Radagon Soreseal for Millicent's Prosthesis. This boosts successive attacks as well as dex. You can get this by killing Millicent at the Windmill Village site of Grace during her questline, or siding against her at the end of her questline. Secondly, we've got the Kindred of Rot's Exaltation. This gives a 20% boost to attacks when poison or rot is in the vicinity. Spoiler alert, there will always be poison or rot in the vicinity. You can get the Kindred of Rot's Exaltation from the Kindred of Rot in Seathwater Cave, located here. Then we've got the Shard of Alexander, which greatly raises the attack power of skills, which again, we're always going to be using the skills. To get the Shard of Alexander, you'll need to do his quest line. The final location for Alexander will be in the crumbling Farah Missoula. I won't spoil how you get it, but have fun. Finally, you'll want the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, which greatly raises attack power with successive attacks. The attack boost will start at 6% but keep climbing to a whopping 22% with each hit. The Rotten Winged Sword Insignia can be earned by siding with Millicent at the end of her quest in the Haligtree. For your Great Rune, go for Godric's Rune, as this boosts all of your attributes by 5, and you really can't go wrong with that. The Stone Barb cracked here is incredibly important to use here, as it helps with breaking enemy poise, and whenever you use the spinning slash attack, this is going to double your chances. The second tier is even more important, and it ties all of this together beautifully. The Thorny cracked tier makes consecutive attacks grow stronger the longer they continue, which is exactly what you're going to be doing the whole time. This will stack on top of the near 100% damage boost you're getting from everything else. I'm pretty sure there are more intricate and impressive ways that these items are stacking together, but I don't have a calculator to hand and you don't care, so let's just say big damage. So how does this build work? Well, before you walk into the boss room or start swinging your sword at an enemy player, drink your Wondrous Physic and you're ready to go. Start spamming L2 for PlayStation or LT for Xbox. This will use the double slash Ash of War. It hits the enemy with an attack that strikes them 4 to 5 times, which triggers everything that boosts successive attacks. The poison caused by the swords will also kick in, and that will trigger everything that boosts attack power when poison is in the vicinity. Your high level arcane will then boost that, and the small amount of blood loss on the swords. And then, your secret weapon, switching to your left blade and spamming the spinning slash Ash of War, will also trigger everything, but it will also break the enemy's poise, which is made even easier thanks to the Stone Barb cracked tier. And then spamming it again will likely kill your opponent before they even know what hit them. If they do manage to get out alive, they'll be heavily poisoned. With each strike you do, the more damage you'll do, and everything will continue stacking, so it'll only be a matter of time before you win the fight. And as a very helpful tip to anybody that has stuck with me through this guide, when playing on your own, use the Mimic tier summon with this build. The fact the summon has all of this equipment as well doubles the rate in which you kill bosses. Not only are they a great distraction for letting you get in those extra hits, but they're great at keeping the poison going for your attack buffs. Enjoy the build and have fun.